Something is clearly brewing in the NFC, and the Eagles might be wise to keep a very close eye on their biggest divisional rival. The Dallas Cowboys, after completely shocking the NFL world by trading away Micah Parsons to the Packers in the offseason, may not be done making moves. And if the latest report from Trey Wingo has any truth to it, and it certainly feels like it does, Dallas is back on the phones, this time checking in with the Las Vegas Raiders about acquiring Maxx Crosby. That's right, one of the league's most dominant edge rushers could be on the move, and the Cowboys seem ready to go all in again. Now, let's break this down from the Eagles' perspective, because whether or not Crosby ends up wearing that dreaded star on his helmet, this impacts Philadelphia in a major way. First of all, the Eagles play Dallas twice a year, every year. That's just the reality of the NFC East. So, when the Cowboys make a move for a high-impact defensive player, it's not just league news, it becomes Eagles news. Imagine having to block Maxx Crosby twice in one season, especially when your offensive line is already dealing with injuries and inconsistency. But what makes this even more fascinating is the context. Dallas traded Micah Parsons, arguably their best defensive player and certainly one of the most dynamic defenders in football, reportedly because they didn't want to meet his massive contract demands. Parsons ended up signing with Green Bay for $46.5 million per year, the highest average annual salary for a non-quarterback in NFL history. So why turn around and go after Maxx Crosby, a guy who's not exactly cheap himself? Crosby's deal pays him $35.5 million per year, a lower number than Parsons, yes, but still premium money. It suggests something deeper going on in Dallas. Some insiders believe it's more than just financial. That Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office were simply fed up with Micah's personality, his outspoken nature, and maybe even his rising stardom. Crosby, in contrast, is a quieter leader, a respected captain, someone who puts his head down and works. He might be seen as the type of locker room presence Dallas prefers. That theory gains even more weight when you look at how badly the Cowboys' defense has fallen off this season. They're allowing nearly 30 points per game, ranking near the bottom of the league in almost every defensive category: yardage, third down percentage, red zone defense, you name it. The Kenny Clark addition hasn't made the impact they hoped for. The unit is in shambles. So it would make sense that the Cowboys are now looking to stabilize things. And they might view Maxx Crosby as the guy who can help turn their defense back into a strength. But here's the twist. If you're Howie Roseman, do you let that happen without putting in your own offer? It's no secret that the Eagles were reportedly in on Micah Parsons before he was dealt. Jake Glazer reported that Philly made the most aggressive offer, which tells you all you need to know about how much Howie values elite defensive talent. He doesn't sit on his hands. If there's a blue-chip defender available, he picks up the phone. So if Howie was serious about trying to land Micah Parsons, why wouldn't he at least explore the possibility of Maxx Crosby? He's younger than some of the other pass rushers on the market. He's proven. He's dominant. And he's under contract. That's the kind of move that could elevate Philly's front from good to terrifying. Now, let's be real. The cost is going to be massive. 2 first-round picks is likely the minimum, and the Raiders may want even more. According to Raiders insiders, a deal could require 2 ones and possibly a second or third as well. That's not cheap. But when you look at where the Eagles are on defense, especially along the edge, you start to see why this conversation even exists. The Eagles' pass rush has been inconsistent. Statistically, they've only managed 11 sacks so far this season, tied for 25th in the league. That's not good enough, especially when you're trying to compete for a Super Bowl in a loaded NFC where margins are razor thin. The pressure rate is solid, top 10, but that's also due in part to Vic Fangio blitzing more than usual, which isn't really his style. He's doing it because his edge rushers can't win consistently in one-on-one situations. When a defensive coordinator who's known for his discipline and structure starts dialing up extra pressure, that tells you something's wrong. And that brings us to the return of a Philadelphia legend, Brandon Graham. BG is officially back. The longtime Eagle came out of retirement and re-signed with the Birds, bringing a much-needed veteran presence back to a room that's been hit hard by injuries. Graham won't be asked to play a full-time role, and honestly, he shouldn't. but giving the team 10 to 15 quality snaps a game, that's a huge boost, especially in a playoff race. But let's not kid ourselves. BG returning is a great story, an emotional one, but it's not enough. The Eagles still need more juice on the edge. With multiple pass rushers on injured reserve and the production dropping off, Howie Roseman may not have the luxury of standing pat. That's where names like Jermaine Johnson or Bradley Chubb come into the conversation. More affordable trade options who could still provide a spark. Crosby, while ideal, may simply be out of range, especially if Dallas is willing to empty the vault to get him. But that's why this story matters. If Crosby does end up in Dallas, that shifts the power dynamic in the NFC East. It forces the Eagles to make a move of their own, or risk falling behind a rival that's suddenly reloading in the middle of the season. And when the margin between making the playoffs or getting home field advantage comes down to 1 or 2 games, you can't afford to sit back and wait. The NFC is wide open this year. There's no clear number one. The Eagles are in the mix, yes, but so are the Niners, the Lions, and the Cowboys, if they can figure things out defensively. A blockbuster move like Crosby heading to Dallas would change the landscape entirely. And don't forget, if he lands there, the Eagles have to see him twice, and possibly a third time in the playoffs. From the Raiders' perspective, it actually makes sense. They're a mess. Just got blanked by the Chiefs. Their roster has holes everywhere. If you're rebuilding, and you're offered 2 first-rounders and another premium pick, how do you say no? Especially for a position like edge rusher, where it's nearly impossible to win with one dominant player and nothing else around him. You stockpile picks, fill out the roster, and start fresh. That's what smart front offices do. And while Crosby is beloved in Vegas, this might be the only time to get maximum value for him. And look, let's not forget about the emotional element here either. Brandon Graham walking back into the Eagles' locker room, putting the pads back on, and possibly stepping onto the field against the Giants. That's going to hit differently. He said himself, he might cry coming out of the tunnel. And you know what? Philly fans might too. It's more than football. It's legacy. It's heart. But even BG knows this team needs more if they're going to win another ring. The storybook ending is only possible if the roster is championship caliber. Right now, the pass rush just isn't where it needs to be. One of the things that makes the Eagles' front office so dangerous is that Howie Roseman doesn't operate like a traditional general manager. He's not afraid of the big swing. He's proven time and time again that he values talent over comfort, aggression over caution. That's how he built a Super Bowl roster once before, and that's how he rebuilt another one in just a few short years. So when a player like Maxx Crosby is even rumored to be available, especially with the Cowboys sniffing around, you can bet that he's at least making the call. But this isn't just about Maxx Crosby. This is about the bigger picture, the fact that the Eagles are in win-now mode and the defense, specifically the edge rush, isn't holding up its end of the bargain. It's not just about replacing production. It's about setting the tone. Teams fear defenses with guys who can wreck games. And right now, Philadelphia doesn't have that guy off the edge. They have depth. They have names. But they don't have fear. And that's what Crosby brings. Fear. Offensive coordinators have to account for him every single snap. You can't teach that. And that brings us to Vic Fangio, the new architect of this defense. Known for his stoic presence and meticulous schemes, Vic is not someone who blitzes heavily by default. His philosophy is built on structure, spacing, and smart zone coverage. But this season, he's been forced to bring heat more often than usual, which tells you he doesn't trust his front four to get home. He's sending linebackers. He's scheming overloads. He's manufacturing pressure. And while it's worked to some degree, the Eagles rank top 10 in pressures. It's not sustainable when your sack numbers are near the bottom of the league. You can't blitz your way to a championship. Not in today's NFL. Eventually, you're going to get burned. So even though Brandon Graham is back, and even though his return gives the team a spark, it's not a fix. It's a patch. A temporary boost of leadership and experience, but not a long-term solution to a fundamental problem. BG knows that. He's been around too long to think otherwise. The way he talked about his comeback, you could tell this was emotional. He said he never really wanted to retire, that he only stepped away because the roster looked loaded and his role seemed unclear. But as the season unfolded and the injuries piled up, the call came. The team needed him. And like the ultimate professional he is, he answered. Still, even with Graham's return, the list of available pass rushers is thin. Zadarius Smith retired. Nolan Smith is on injured reserve. Other young guys haven't stepped up. And the Eagles are getting dangerously close to relying on role players to do premium jobs. That's not the formula. That's not how you beat elite teams in January. And that's what makes this trade window so fascinating. Because while the Eagles aren't in desperation mode, they're still one of the best teams in the NFC. They're not invincible either. The 49ers, Lions, and Cowboys are all lurking. One move from any of them could shift the balance. If Dallas lands Crosby, it tightens the gap. If the Eagles respond by going after someone like Jermaine Johnson or Bradley Chubb, it becomes a chess match. Jermaine Johnson, with the Jets, is young, explosive, and might be available if New York decides to shift into sell mode. Bradley Chubb, currently with the Dolphins, has the kind of traits that could thrive in Fangio's scheme, especially considering their history together in Denver. Those are the kind of second-tier trade targets that feel more realistic, guys who wouldn't cost multiple first-rounders but could still move the needle. But the shadow of Max Crosby looms large. His name alone changes the equation. He's not just a good player, he's a game-changer. And the thought of him wearing a Cowboys uniform, lining up across from Lane Johnson twice a year, is enough to keep Eagles fans up at night. Not just because of what he brings on the field, but because of what it says about Dallas. That they're willing to spend, to pivot, to admit mistakes, and reload on the fly. That kind of adaptability is rare in Jerry Jones' front office. But if they're making calls for Crosby, it means they know their current roster isn't good enough. And that's a sign that the arms race in the NFC East is officially on. And if there's one thing we've learned over the past few years, it's that Howie doesn't sit out arms races. He joins them. He flips picks into playmakers. He looks ahead, not behind. And even if he doesn't land Crosby, you can bet he's looking elsewhere for help. Because the Eagles have been in too many close games already. Their margin for error is shrinking. And when the postseason comes, it won't be about depth. It'll be about impact. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have been swirling around the NFL in recent days, and the latest chatter is impossible to ignore. Jordan Love has reportedly declined a contract extension with his current team, choosing instead to align his future with the Philadelphia Eagles. The move, if true, could send shockwaves through the league and reshape the quarterback landscape in a way few predicted. Sources close to the situation hint that Love's decision wasn't made lightly. Despite having opportunities to secure his spot where he currently plays, the young quarterback apparently sees a brighter, or at least different, path with the Eagles. Philadelphia, known for its aggressive roster moves and Super Bowl ambitions, may be betting on Love as the next piece to solidify a championship-caliber squad. Meanwhile, fans and analysts alike are left speculating. What does this mean for the quarterback carousel across the NFL, and which franchises might now be scrambling to adjust their plans? Adding fuel to the rumor mill, insiders suggest that Love's choice was influenced by the Eagles' offensive system and the coaching staff's vision for the future. A team that has often been bold in making high-stakes decisions now might be preparing to gamble on a young signal caller who has all the raw tools, but is still unproven on a consistent, big-stage basis. The potential pairing has sparked heated debates online, with some fans praising the ambition and others questioning whether Love is truly ready for such a leap. One thing is certain, the mere possibility of Love joining the Eagles has everyone talking. Executives, analysts, and commentators are all weighing the implications. Could this be the start of a new dynasty in Philadelphia, or a high-risk move that backfires? While no deal has been officially confirmed, the buzz around this development is undeniable. As the offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on the Eagles and the league at large to see whether this rumored quarterback switch will materialize or remain just tantalizing speculation. For now, fans can only watch, wait, and imagine the explosive headlines that could follow should Jordan Love take flight in green and white. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.